right. Thank you, Harry, for that rendition of Sketchbook with your band. I appreciate you as always. Today we have a special guest at the Hugs Not Drugs podcast. It is Ron, and Ron is a very good friend of mine for the last 30 years. He's an incredible man. But before we get to that, welcome to the Hugs Not Drugs podcast. My name is John Barleycorn. I have other guests in the studio, or people in the studio. Dr. Ruggs, say something, Dr. Ruggs. Something. All right, thanks for saying something. And Hugs Not Drugs, how you doing, Barleycorn? You know we got the same voice, right? I don't know what that's about. That is Ron, and I'm going to give this over to Ron in a minute. I just want to let people know what the heck is the Hugs Not Drugs podcast. What is it about? The Hugs Not Drugs podcast can help motivated people in recovery from addictions and give them additional skills for their personal health by enjoying inspirational stories. And we got one today, educational stories. This man is loaded with education. I've stolen a lot of his phrases. And the entertainment that's provided by, you guessed it, Dr. Uggs, I'm a laugh riot. Yeah, if you have a sense of humor. I mean, some people don't have a sense of humor about what you say. Okay, so welcome to the Hugs Not Drugs show, and welcome, Ron. I'm just going to say a few more words about Ron. I've met him 30 years ago. He has done so much for recovering people. It's incredible, and hopefully he'll share what he's done, starting meetings, providing housing for people that are new in recovery, and just being a very decent businessman, construction. He's in construction, and he's a very gifted builder. So I'm giving you, Ron, and the floor is yours. I'll try to keep quiet.
Pleasure to be here with you this morning. My name is Ron B. Brito is my last name. And I got sober July 4th, 1985, which brings me to about 40 years of sobriety. That was the day I started living was on 4th of July, 1985. I started learning how to live life on life's terms. And at first it was a little hard, a little rough, because I had to face a lot of things that I really didn't want to face. But the only difference was that today I could do it with a smile. You know, that realizing that I don't have to relive those same moments again and again and again. You know, I don't know, a lot of different alcoholics, it takes quite a bit to change our mind, you know, to set us in a new way of living, you know, because basically when I have to determine the past and the future, which would I rather live in, the future would be the here and now would be my choice, and that affects my future. And that's what I had to start learning how to realize that today it's what I do today is what's gonna construe my future. And you know, today I woke up, I hit my knees, I went to an AA meeting, and I didn't get a chance to share in the meeting, which I usually try to raise my hand at every meeting to get something off my chest, because I don't like carrying things around today. But today it's John reminded me of this podcast. He told me about it a couple of days ago, but like John said, I'm in construction and I've got a couple jobs going on right now, so my mind is elsewhere other than on recovery. I have a job today that I have to do that keeps me occupied, that keeps me busy, and I like to stay busy. It's an alcoholic with spare time is just a problem looking for a place to happen. It's I don't know. I've had a lot of influential people in my life that I've come in contact with during my sobriety. John's one of them that he helps to keep me sober on a daily basis. I wish I could have him down here all year long here in Florida, but he's got the convenience of going back and forth. He's a snowbird, but that's what we call them down here in Florida. People that have the resources to be able to go back and forth. Anyway, that's enough about him.
Let me interrupt you. God takes care of fools and drunks. This SOB is double covered. And by SOB, I mean spiritually off base. This guy needs to stick close, and you help him a lot, because I'm trying to get him back.
I'm trying to keep him here, so we're both on the same track. I started this back in 1985 on the 4th of July, and it wasn't by my own volition that I took this, made this choice. I've been married for 47 years now.
The woman's a saint.
Yeah, to the same woman. I've been married twice. I was married the first time. I was just looking for a tall, good-looking blonde that I got along with, and I found one in Northern California in Arcata. Good-looking blonde, going to Humboldt State. She tall, good-looking, and she drank and used drugs as much as I did, so we hit it off really good. We stayed married we raised hell together for about 5 years. We were together. We got married, and that ended in a complete fiasco. It's drugs, alcohol, and all the things that go along with it. I don't want to get too much into detail of my past. There's a lot of, I was into drugs and alcohol. And I grew up in Southern California. My dad was in the Air Force, so I did a lot of traveling around when I was young. I was born in Colorado Springs, and then we lived there for about 3 years. Then my dad got stationed up to Spokane, Washington. And I'm of Mexican descent, and we moved to Spokane, Washington, and there's not a lot of Mexicans up there, so I never learned how to talk Spanish. And after Washington, we lived there for about 5 years. That was what I remember about that is it was cold and it was nice. I remember going to Cub Scouts, and I was raised Catholic, so I was an altar boy. Cub Scouts. My dad was teaching Cub Scouts and teaching me and my brother how to box. And I learned a few other things. And then he got transferred to Newfoundland, Canada. And believe me, there are no Mexicans there in Newfoundland, Canada. So learning how to talk Spanish was completely out of the question. The only time I heard Spanish talked was when my mom and dad didn't want us to know something. And so we stayed there, and I had a couple I have an older brother. His name's Tom, and I have then Newfoundland, Spokane, Washington. I had another sister born, and then another brother, and then we moved after we came back from Newfoundland, Canada. We lived up there for about 3 years. Came back, and my dad got stationed in Colorado, Denver, and we lived there for about a year. Then he got stationed out to Southern California, and I liked that. That was nice. Nice warm weather and a lot of young people. And we stayed there only for about a year. Then he got stationed back to Colorado Springs, and that's where I was born. And we came back into got to meet a lot of my relatives that I didn't know I had. And that was kind of unique because I can remember going to a movie one time and I was scheming on this girl and she turned out to be one of my cousins. And I was, Jesus Christ, and
Mistakes were made.
yeah. And then after that, my dad got stationed back to Southern California again. And then my dad got tired of moving around, so he retired, and he retired there in Southern California, and I liked that. That was nice. But we lived in a little small town right outside of Riverside, which is Southern California. It's close to San Bernardino. And anyway, that's where I grew up at, in Riverside and Sunnymead, Edgemont, around there. Now it's called Moreno Valley, but that's where I first, I graduated from high school there, from Poly High. Went to RCC for a while. I made an attempt at junior college, but I had other ideas about drugs and alcohol. It took me away from that, but it was a good place to sell drugs. Anyway, I got into drugs, and as I did, one thing led to the next. I started selling drugs, and then we started importing drugs from Mexico, smuggling kilos. And we got in a little bit of trouble doing that. And I ended up going to jail for it. I got an indictment for sales of marijuana, and then when they broke into my house, they raided the house and found all kinds of other drugs, meth, crystal, heroin, and forth. And so they arrested me for all of those, and then. But basically, it was in my house, and they raided me. We had like about 20 people over there at the house when they raided it, and I just told them that it was all my drugs and cut everybody else loose. So I had to go to jail. I ended up doing about 5 years in prison, and that's when they just opened a rehab in the penal system in Southern California, called Norco, but it was a rehabilitation center for the penal system, and I can't even remember the name, but now I spent 5 years there. You can tell how old I'm getting. So anyway. I ended up doing about 5 years there, and when you're in jail, you find out who your real friends are, who comes to visit you, and stuff like that. And not many people came. My mom came religiously. My dad didn't come one time. He disowned me. He said his son would not do drugs, and so he kind of disowned me. He come see me one time in those 5 years. But my mom came every week, and it was, when I got out of prison there, I was pretty active before I went to prison, and my dad was in the Air Force, and we had a teen center, and the woman that used to run the teen center was working in the Parks and Recreation Department for the city of Riverside. And she got me a job as a park director when I got out of prison. And so my parole went pretty easy. I was fairly keeping my nose clean, but then as time went on, I started dabbling into drugs again, and my parole officer came out and caught me dirty. He wanted to test me, and I refused to test, and he said, well, I'm going to revoke your parole and send me back to prison. And I said, okay, I copped to it that I was using. And he said, well, you need to get your shit together, Ron, and stay clean and sober. So I did, and I was working the whole time. And then what happened? Then I started getting, I was dabbling back then in drugs and alcohol, dodging my parole officer. He was urine testing me twice a week. So there was only like one day a week I could get high. And that was right when I walked out of his parole after he tested me. I'd have a syringe of heroin waiting out in the truck for me, so as soon as I get out, I could get high, and then I'd be clean for the next 3 days. And so I was always playing the system. And finally, it got to the point where I OD'd one time, and then I said, man, I got to get the hell out of here. Southern California was just not my cup of tea. It was my downfall, and I knew it, So I got the hell out of there, moved to Northern California, and that's where I found that tall, good-looking blonde, and married her and stayed up there in Northern California for a couple years, and then I came back down to Southern California, but I finished my parole up there, and we went from Northern California up into Oregon. I lived up there for a couple years in a little town called Silverton. And no drugs. There was a little bit of alcohol, but that was about it. I opened a little head shop up there. And I was a carpenter by trade. But
Barleycorn here. Suffice it to say, a lot of bad decisions were made because you were using, and that was more important than anything.
Oh yeah,
that was your life.
Drugs and alcohol.
Can I switch a little bit and just encourage you? What the hell happened that you wanted to stop?
Well, all of this is leading up to it. It got to the point where I got. My wife and I left Oregon. We went down back to we went down to. I moved to Colorado, and then I was living there. And while I was living in Colorado, my dad called me, told my mom had cancer and didn't have too much longer to live. So he told me to come back to Southern California. So I came back, and my mother was dying, and that was a real tragic thing for me, and I couldn't handle that, and I was getting loaded all the time, and that I ended up going into treatment. I ended up in a treatment center in Southern California called My Family. It was up in the Idyllwild Mountains. I lived up there for about a year, because my mom told me, Ron, get your shit together, get off of that stuff, and help your brother, and because I had a couple other younger brothers by then. There's 6 kids in my family, and that first treatment center I went to, it was pretty much, it was like an attack therapy type of environment. And I had long hair about halfway down my back, and my mustache was growing, and I had had a suede jacket, suede suit, sport jacket, and cowboy boots and Levi's. And,
Is it safe to say you were too cool for school?
oh yeah, yeah. And they seen me coming when they did. First time I screwed up. As a consequence, they gave me a buzz cut haircut, and boy, that really threw me for a loop. Because when they cut my hair off, I said, "Man, I am not going anywhere looking like this." So I ended up staying for a year there, and to my advantage, and then I did a lot of good work there. I realized I seen myself as I really was, and had to face those things and come to terms with it. And I did, and it cleaned me up and it got me sober. And when I got out of there, my first wife, Cindy, I asked, I told her that, I'm clean, sober, you're going to have to quit drinking or drugging. And she said, no, I'm not. And I said, well, you got a choice, the drugs and the alcohol or me. And she said, well, see you later. So I said, okay, I'll see you later. So we split up. After that first year in AA, I met Joanne, and we got married. And right after we got married, I told Joanne I finished my year in AA, and I told her that I don't have to go to AA anymore. And she says, well, you never seemed like an alcoholic to me, because she met me when I was in AA. And then I said, well, let's go out and get a bottle of wine. And I spent the next 7 years removing all doubt from her mind that I'm an alcoholic. And today, there's not a doubt in her mind that I'm an alcoholic. You want to ask her about it, she'd be more than happy to tell you all of the fucked up shit that I've done in my life to her. And how many lies and how much I've cheated on her and disgraced her. And I don't know. But I was there for her I kept working. And I knew how to stay sober because I learned that first year of sobriety, and I ended up, things got worse, and we moved a couple times, and I finally I talked to her to come to Florida, and because I split up, I got another DUI, and I was living in Southern California, and I knew that, and by this time I had a couple more kids, me and Joanne, and I realized that I got another DUI, and I realized that they were going to give me a year in jail, and I did not want my kids coming to see me in jail, so I took the judge let me out on an OR from a DUI that I got. I went home, packed my shit, and took off. I took about $200 or $300 out of the bank, left the rest of the money to Joanne because she needed it for the kids, and I left. I ghosted her and and took off on a trip across the United States, drugging and drinking from Southern California all the way to end up here in Florida. I stopped in Colorado, Tennessee, and then ended up down here in Florida I have a sister who lives there. And I came down and asked her if I could move down here for a bit and get my shit together. So she said, okay. So in the meantime, I talked Joanne into coming back with me because she told me I had to stay sober for 90 days before she'd even talk to me on the phone. So I did, and I stayed sober. And but then when I got sober, first I talked her into coming to Tennessee because I found a nice place up there, right on a creek with 3-bedroom house with fireplace and stuff, and she liked that, so she came to Tennessee. And then, as a good alcoholic, when I got her back, I got what I wanted. So what did I do? I started drinking again.
But I just want to, you have proven in this story so far, your way don't work.
You're getting the hang of it. Anyway, when I finally got down here to Florida, I talked my wife into coming down here to Florida. I came down here to Florida, and then I had to make a decision down here. And when I finally made the decision to go back to AA because my life got miserable enough, so I came back to AA on July 4th because I didn't show up to take the kids out for fireworks. I chose to spend my paycheck on drugs and alcohol, and came back the night of 4th of July to the house, and my wife, she looked at me and said, "You're about a worthless piece of shit, Ron." And that I said, "That's the last time you're ever going to say that to me." And the next day I was at an AA meeting, and I've been doing 90 and 90 for the last 40 years. Why? Because that's what works for me. I caught on to a few things that people told me is don't drink, go to meetings, hit my knees, get a sponsor, and do service work. And I've been doing that for the last 40 goddamn years. And I do it, why? Because it fucking works, I have a thick head and I can't be, and I don't like being told what to do. Like a typical alcoholic, you tell me to go right, the only way I want to go is left. And I don't know how many times I've chosen to take I had to learn how to take the spiritual path rather than the psychopath. And my sponsor, Larry, is one that gave me that line.
And I've stolen that line. And
as long as it's well used.
John Forlenza-Bailey has it in his books, for God's sake.
Well, it was my sponsor, Captain Larry's a boat captain from the Caribbean. He was over in India and he ran into this monk, and this monk told him that a spiritual path rather than the psychopath. So we've been wearing it out ever since. Anyway, when she came back down here, I talked to her to come to Florida. When she came to Florida, I got sober. And ever since then, it's been a day at a time. Things have gotten better. And when I came back, I came back simply because I wanted to get those things back that I got the first time when I got sober. I wanted to buy a house, get my contractor's license here in Florida, get a new truck, have another kid, and I have. I've done all those things and more, and if I was to sit here and tell you about all the good things that have happened to me, I'd feel like I was bragging, because I can't count all the blessings that have come to me. I own 7 sober houses now, and I have about 4 people in every house. I don't crowd the houses. I put 1 person per room, and it's pretty comfortable. I put them in the way that I would like to live if I had to live, and it seems to be doing good. And God's been taking care of me ever since then. And it's He blesses me with friends like John, and meetings that I go to. When I was first getting sober, I got sober at a 5:30 meeting. And then I'd come home I'd go from work to the meeting, then I'd come home. And I'd come home after the 5:30 meeting, all happy, joyous, and free. And my wife would be looking at me. She'd be sitting at home with 4 kids, been washing dishes, cleaning the house, changing clothes, doing homework. And she finally told me that I had to get my worthless ass home right after work and help with the kids. So I said, but I go to a meeting. All right, so I don't care. You need to be home. So I said, so like good alcoholic, what did I do? I figured I'd start a meeting at a more convenient time. So I started a meeting at 7 o'clock in the morning, so that I could get to a meeting before I went to work, and that worked out fine. And I stayed at that 7 o'clock meeting. It was one day at a time in Crossroads in Delray Beach, and that meeting's still going today. And then it got to be the point where it got to be doing so good that, I'd want to go out with to breakfast with a sponsee after the meeting. We'd go to pick out a local cafe to go to, and man, there'd be about 19 people coming with us, and it takes about an hour and a half. So I didn't get out of there at breakfast till about 9:30, and construction workers usually start before 7 o'clock. So I was getting to work, chasing my subcontractors down, doing everything. So I started, that wasn't working. So I started an earlier meeting. I started a 6:30 morning meeting, the Just Before Dawn group. And that's where I've been thriving at for the last couple decades. And, life keeps getting better and better and better, And then all of a sudden, I got a friend, John, comes up and asks me to be on a podcast, as if I didn't get enough time to share in the meeting already. So I want to thank John for the opportunity to come and share with you guys. I hope I've been some kind of, if nothing else, it's been real. And if you have the balls to do it, get sober, because it ain't no cakewalk.
John Barleycorn, take it over, Hugs Not Drugs. You've been silent the whole time. Ron, I saw you when you had about 10 years of recovery, and I saw how real you were. It was no bones about it, and that's what always attracted me to you. You're for real. You have the courage to be honest. You've done the original pain work to be that honest. And if anybody has a problem with it, that's their problem. It's not your problem. And so, you have been a great role model for me. And the generosity, I see how much you're loved at these meetings, and it's just, I want to be like you when I grow up. Yeah, that's the kind of reality that you've always had. You're not coddling anybody. You'll go to the gates of hell with somebody, but you ain't going in there with them. Yeah.
I've already been there.
Yeah, I hear that. Okay. All right. We gotta do a commercial here. Thank you so much, Ron.
Thank you, John, for asking me.
And it doesn't look like I'm gonna get you today, but you better watch out for tomorrow. Is all I can say. All right.
Bring it on.
All right, let's do a little commercial. Try to pay for this puppy. This is sponsored by the Road to Wellness Workbook. This workbook is designed to provide education, emotional support, and inspiration to persons suffering from addiction. It offers step-by-step lessons to people striving to turn their lives around regarding abstinence, relapse prevention, family dynamics, and self-assessment to continue to discover day-to-day recovery efforts. Recovery's up to you. Mentorship helps. Journals help. You must exchange and surrender destructive behaviors for constructive ways of handling the day-to-day stressors or triggers of life. You heard a great shining example of that today. No one deserves to continue to suffer from active addiction. Get better, do the work. You got a problem? Do something about it. Buy the book, go get a mentor, go through the book with them. If you're
don't have a problem and you've been listening to this podcast and you know somebody that has a problem, buy the book, go through the changes with them, let them do the original pain, listen to them with their journal writing and the educational stuff that's in the book, and you'll be part of a solution instead of part of a problem. So, okay, all right, Doctor, that's enough of that stuff. We're getting ready to close up. You're going to be listening to Harry, my son, sharing his outro music with Sketchbook. It's one of the first songs he ever wrote at Temple in Philadelphia, and he's quite the little composer, and we appreciate you, Harry. Go for it. Give us the rest of the song. And thank you again, Ron, for a great session.
Yeah.
Podcast. This has been the Hugs Not Drugs podcast, and everybody have a good day. God bless.